call.
Farrett.
Yes, here.
Blunier. Absent. Hilliard.
Here.
Leach.
Here.
Mennel.
Yes, here.
Newman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no public hearings tonight, but we do have a special presentation for the game ball run proclamation. I'd ask our council to read that.
Game Ball Run Proclamation, whereas 10 years ago, the Morton Game Ball Run was founded by Stacy Latursky, Dana Hobson, and Jarrett Brown, who wanted to involve students and the community in an effort to increase awareness and raise funds to fight children's cancer and other pediatric conditions and diseases. And whereas the fundraiser has evolved into multiple events at multiple schools, both public and private, in the village. And it culminates with the Game Ball Run boys basketball game at the Morton High School. And whereas the mission of the annual Game Ball Run events is to raise funds for the support of the Heller Center for Kids with Cancer at OSF Healthcare Children's Hospital of Illinois. And whereas the Village Board of Trustees recognizes the tremendous impact of volunteerism, engagement, and support from the community and our businesses. And whereas the village would like to recognize all of the volunteers from our community and its multiple public and private schools who bring these events together, including the executive committee, which consists of many volunteers, including co-chairs Tracy Hare, Dana Hobson, and Stacy Latursky, and members Samantha Dardanes, Nico Drake, Tracy Fick, Coach Matt Franks, Sarah Glatz, Jenna Grimm, Dr. Jeff Hill, Scott Jones, Megan Lovell, Debbie Mason, Clayton Monfrey, Coach Luke Overcash, Andrea Richards, Deidre Ripka, Jenny Roach, Kristen Schick, Jamie Skinner, Melissa White, and Terry White. And whereas the village would like to commend the efforts of all of the volunteers and participants from Game Ball Run who have raised $1,025,415 over 10 years, with $284,253 being raised during the 2021-2022 school year. And now, therefore, Jeff Kaufman, Mayor of the Village of Morton, hereby proclaims March 21st, 2002 as Morton Game Ball Run Day in the Village of Morton, and encourages all residents to celebrate and support these efforts. In witness whereof, he has set his hand and seal and caused the seal of the Village of Morton to be affixed this 21st day of March 2022. Thank you.
So if any of you were there that night, we were, my grandson was playing, but playing Metamora, that stadium at Morton was full. And the shirts that night, I don't think I've ever seen so much color in that basketball game in my life. But to think this community could raise $284,000 in 1 year is unbelievable. But, you know, in this town, it's a town of volunteers, a lot of good churches, but a lot of volunteers run this town. And this is a perfect example of the volunteers getting together, doing a great cause for cancer and that. So $284,000 1 year, over $1 million in 10 years. I know it's not all about the money, but what an effort that can go toward and help solve a lot of problems. So Stacy, if you come up with your ladies here, some of you, these are some of the volunteers. Why don't you have a few words and why don't you introduce your team there.
Thank you for having us tonight. I will introduce first. I'm Stacy Latursky. This is Jenny Roche, Jamie Skinner, and then my co-chairs Tracy Hare and Dana Hobson. And we have a committee, an executive committee that you heard, about 20. We have a school committee comprised of all of our District 709 schools, as well as Blessed Sacrament and Bethel Lutheran. And that committee has the principals involved, as well as school representatives. Most of them are volunteers, some teachers. And so we feel incredibly blessed as a game ball committee to have all of our Morton schools involved, and then the most incredible, generous community support behind it, from sponsorships with businesses and even just families sponsoring. And then just everyone just comes together. And every year we're just blown away and overwhelmed and amazed by the generosity of this community. And every year we have grown our proceeds for OSF Children's Hospital. And the last few years we have raised funds for the Heller Center for Kids with Cancer. But honestly, Morton Game Ball Run has touched almost every part of the Children's Hospital. We've raised funds for the neonatal intensive care unit, the pediatric intensive care unit, Almost Home Kids, which is a respite care facility, one of its kind, and then just general pediatrics. So we always partner with the hospital where the needs are greatest, and fundraise and do awareness based upon their needs. So we are just grateful that we live in this community and are able to give back to those that can't. And we have a mission statement, and it's equally important that we are fundraising as we are spreading awareness, because truly OSF Children's Hospital is Morton's Children's Hospital. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacy. You can have our new seal.
Thank you. Thank you.
You want to stand?
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Does any of the trustees have anything to add, or?
Just one thing. I was speaking with the ladies prior to this. I actually worked with them the very first year. This was actually, they dribbled the ball from the high school all the way over to the Children's Hospital in Peoria. But unfortunately, the second and third year, Mother Nature had a different plan, and ended up taking advantage the third year, going into the gym and doing it there. And quite frankly, that's really brought the community together with this, and really grown it, exponentially. And so I think that it's kudos to the ladies here, and maybe Mother Nature knew best, and it continues to grow, and the school expands, and it's outstanding what you ladies do.
And me and the village clerk have been talking to the school classes, so I'm taking one with me.
All right.
So what you ladies do, okay.
Well, thank
So
you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comments tonight, anyone like to speak?
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, and staff. Leanne Brown with the Morton Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Council. Definitely exciting there, recognizing Game Ball Run. Just like you said, Mayor, just an incredible community we have, and what an accomplishment. A few things upcoming on the calendar. This week we have business after hours. We are back hosting those in person. You have a little reminder card here. These were mailed out to all of our business members. If you bring this, you're entered into a shop local chamber check drawing. But this Thursday at 4:30 at Potter's Alley. Potter's Alley is hosting our business after hours 4:30 to 6. Open invitation to citizens, businesses, and all of you to join us. Then April is a busy month for all of us. We have our Morton Forecast Breakfast. So great speaker lineup, right, Mayor, of Village of Morton, District 709 Superintendent and Assistant Superintendent, our Morton Public Library, Morton Park District, and our Morton Economic Development Council. taking place on Wednesday, April 20th. Our host site is the Comfort Inn and Suites, and breakfast will be provided by TCRC. You'll get a little taste of festival with pumpkin pancakes. So registration's open. Mayor and trustees, I gave you a couple invite cards. You're included, and then 2 additional attendees if you want to extend that to a neighbor, colleague, friend, business owner to join us. That would be great. And shortly after that, our Morton Cleanup always takes place on Earth Day. And so Friday, April 22nd is our cleanup day. We're inviting businesses to put teams together to go out and about anytime that day. And then citizens late afternoon into early evening check in at the Morton Library from 3 to 4. We'll equip you with cleanup supplies, and we have sadly a growing list of areas to go out and clean up. Our interstate corridors certainly get a lot of litter and a lot of other areas. So if you see an area that needs attention, make sure it's on the list. I've already corresponded with Craig and others on adding to that list. So and hopefully get out and help us, whether it's just in front of your house, around your neighborhood, in front of your business. It can all make a big, big difference. And then on that day as well, we'll launch our 4th Friday season. So April through August on the 4th Friday, 5 to 8 throughout downtown Morton. A lot of businesses, organizations will be a part of that. There's a family zone at the Memorial Plaza, and a lot of great activities, front porches, inside businesses for families and others to experience. So with that, I'll leave you with those updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thanks to Jeff for inviting me and the trustees. I'm Bill Howder. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm running for the 87th District State Rep. Many of you know Keith Summers is the current state representative, and I'm running his position. I'm a Morton resident. I'm a physician in Peoria, and I have a unique position. I'm an anesthesiologist and I'm a emergency physician. So I do 2 things. So it was really fun telling my wife that I wanted to do both residencies. But I do work at the Children's Hospital, so I could actually take that check if you wanted me to take that game ball check. I can take it to the hospital for you. But I'm a resident of Morton. I'm also on the Tazewell County Board. And I got on the board because I was looking for a way to make a difference and a way to participate and not complain so much. I was complaining to my wife about the politics of Illinois, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna participate and not complain, and that's been good. I've been able to be like you on a municipal level, looking at politics from a local point of view, and then COVID hit. And I've been dealing with COVID, immersed in COVID at the hospital. And I've just been really challenged, really compelled by COVID to seek change, because I feel like the response of the state was very counterproductive, it was very authoritarian, and it was very divisive. And I just felt like these mandates and these lockdowns and these school closures and these business closures were really counterproductive, and I think I can speak with a voice of clarity and some credibility on this issue. And so I just felt like this was something I should do. And when Keith announced that he wasn't going to run for re-election, I decided to run. Now, I have a lot of assets, and chief among those assets is really this community. And we've heard tonight how this community is special. And you talk about the taxes and low taxes and the infrastructure and the businesses and there's a lot of positive. The schools, the education is just second to none. But really, it's the people, and it's people like my family. Not my name, my family name. The Howder name and the Witzig name. My mom's a Witzig. Have been part of this community for so long. I have deep roots in this community, and it's the lives lived of impact on the community, and the lives lived of contributions to the community. And my great-grandfather started Witzig Store on Main Street. And my dad worked at, Morton Federal on Main Street. And I've just been in this community and have been a part of it, and it's people like them that have served, and I want to serve as well. And it's something that, has really been impactful to me, being from this community and how special it is. And then, you know what? It's the people, it's the families, but it's also faith. And Jeff talks about this a lot. He talks about the fact that there's a lot of churches. Well, there's a lot of faith in this community, and I'm a man of faith as well, and I want to run and honor him as well when I do this run. And, I think the Lord directs our paths, and I just feel really directed by him to make this run. So it's our communities, our families, our faith, and I think I can be a great representative for this, this community, but also this district. So I'd like to speak to each one of you, individually. I have already spoken to some of you individually, but I'd really like to, get a chance to speak to each one of you about my run. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Tonight's agenda, consent agenda, is the approval of the minutes of our March 7th, 2022, our closed session of March 7th, 2022, and the approval of the bills. Could I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any comments? Call the roll.
Hilliard.
Yes.
Leach.
Yes.
Menold.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Parrott.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I have nothing tonight. Village clerk.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Village administrator.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Chief of police.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Director of fire and emergency services.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Director of public works.
Several items tonight, Your Honor. First, I have a couple announcements. A spring 2022 yard waste disposal program starts Monday, April 4th, and it runs through Sunday, May 1st, and it will be closed Good Friday through Easter. Second announcement is, got a lot of questions on this one. Most of our residents love our bulky item pickup. I'm not sure our garbage people enjoy that day, but bulky item pickup day is again scheduled for the same week, and that's May 9th through May 13th of this year.
We will have that on the television.
Yes. Yep. Next, I'd like to ask for acceptance of bid for water distribution materials from Core & Main. It's in Washington in the amount of $116,961.00.
You have a motion?
Second.
We opened bids this week. This is our typical every year. So this falls within the budget that you've received and you will receive. And this is for our internal work that our water distribution department does. So fire hydrants, valves, everything's in there. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any comments? Call the roll.
Hilliard. Yes. Leach.
Yes.
Menold.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Parrott.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next four items, I'd like to include D and E together and F and G together, if that's all right, because they go together. First one, item D, waive formal bidding and acceptance of proposal from CIT Group Incorporated for a new Kenworth T480 tandem axle cab and chassis truck for the street department in the amount of $148,749. I would like to note this doesn't include a trade-in yet. And then part E that goes with it, this is the dump body. I'd like to waive formal bidding and acceptance of proposal from Koenig Body and Equipment Incorporated for dump body hydraulics and snowplow for new Kenworth T480, same truck, in the street department in the amount of $121,878.00.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Yeah, I guess first I would like to introduce here Kip Toffer. Most of you know Kip. He's the superintendent of the street department going forward. If you have any questions for him, he's got some extra details. He's been out there plowing with our employees. I think this year these two trucks, while we intended to put them off winter, sometimes unforgiving, and we've had a lot of issues with these two trucks. Actually, the truck that we'll talk about later, but this is to replace the 2008 Sterling tandem truck. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right.
I note that there is a fairly significant difference in price depending on which quarter this is built. obviously, we don't have a guarantee that it will be built in the fourth quarter.
I think with your approval tonight, we should be locked in pretty good for that fourth quarter price. If not, I will come back to you guys. So this would be approval of that to get it on the list. Obviously, there's a lot of volatility, uncertainty in that market, which is another reason for us to kind of come forward in the hopes that we can get, on the list to get it by the fourth quarter.
So you have, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit if you don't mind.
Yep.
But we have two of them and the price differences. So
Yep.
you don't buy the same.
One is a tandem axle and the other is a single axle. So that's really, the dump body is essentially the same minus a couple feet, but that would be the difference in those trucks and the use for those trucks.
Thank you.
And I sent you guys an email. Typically, I like to do Sourcewell, use a cooperative purchase agreement. Unfortunately, this is the one, the T480, which is what we want, will not go from Kenworth to Sourcewell until potentially later this year. We purchased a T370 a few years ago. It was Sourcewell. I would have liked to have come to you guys tonight with a Sourcewell. I think that vets out that. But in our talks with Ryan at CIT, I think we feel pretty good with this price. And that is the reason for the waive formal bidding as opposed to approval through Sourcewell.
The list price of this vehicle is $165,745, and you're asking for $148,000.
Yes,
And some
that is
change.
correct. Yep.
Nothing's cheap.
Nothing's cheap.
Believe it or not, a few years ago, we debated for 4 years till we bought our third one, I think.
And the repairs on these have been pretty significant. I know Kip's brought some stuff with him in case you guys had some questions, but we've had, what's one of our largest repairs on this truck, cost-wise?
The emissions keep going out on the Sterling, so it's like every 2-3 years, that's $6,000 right there. And that's not, that's just for the emissions. It's an older truck. We've had a couple large snow storms this year, and it was down for both of them. So we were down that truck, plus we were down another truck. So we were down 2 trucks for our large storm systems, and that's really hard when we're using a tractor as a follow truck, basically. So I think we did well overall, considering what we had with the new drivers, but it gets a little nerve-wracking when we're down 2 trucks.
And emissions is one thing he mentioned. I believe it's Tier 5 emissions is coming in 24, so that's another thing that, I guess we'll support those, but one thing, talking to mechanics and people in the industry, you definitely don't want to be the guinea pig truck, so we're hoping not to come to you guys in 2024 when the Tier 5s come out, and hopefully let them vet those out for a year or so.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Leach.
Yes.
Menold.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Parrot.
Yes.
Hilliard.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the next item is the single, I think I'm reading these right, the single axle truck. I'd like to waive formal bidding and ask for acceptance of proposal from CIT Group Incorporated for a new Kenworth T480 single axle cab and chassis truck for the street department in the amount of $128,151.00. Again, this does not include the trade-in of truck 59, which is an 02 Freightliner. With that, I'd like to also waive formal bidding and accept a proposal from Koenig Body and Equipment for the dump body hydraulics snowplow for this new truck for the street department in the amount of $119,346.00.
Motion?
Move to approve. Second.
So same thing with this one. The one change is this is a single axle. So I'd be glad to answer any questions on this one. And this one's the 02, so it's over 20 years old. Truck it's replacing.
Any comments?
As far as the trade, I am going to talk to him about trade some more. But once we started working with Gov Deals and become comfortable selling equipment on there, and Nick Armstrong in our office has really taken hold of that. I'd like to have an opportunity to do that, but I will come back to you guys and ask for, which direction to go at a later date, since we're at least fourth quarter till we receive this, and we'd like to use these trucks until such time. when the need arises.
So you won't have to actually make a decision which way you want to until later on then?
Yes, and Julie questioned me on the budget today on this one, and I said, well, it's a little higher because it doesn't include the trade. So I would say as we get a little closer to the end of the year, we will come back to you and get some input and ask for requests which direction to go as far as whether we trade it or we go try to sell them and see what happens.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Menold. Yes. Newman.
Yes.
Parrot.
Yes.
Hilliard.
Yes.
Leach.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That's all I have tonight, Your Honor.
Okay. Zoning court, endorsement.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Village trustees, trustee Leach.
Yes, Your Honor, one item tonight, ordinance 22-17. This deals with removing the requirement to be a member of the Morton Volunteer Fire Department as a resident of the village of Morton. Talking with Matt Roth and Jim Ritt-Taylor, the suggestion was to remove that requirement to see if there's anybody that works in the village of Morton who, if there's a fire call during the day, might be able to respond to that fire call. We have, in talking with Chief Kelly, he has said more than once to me that we have sufficient responders in what we would call the, after 5 and before 7 in the morning, but it's during the workday that it's sometimes hard to get sufficient people to respond. So Chief Kelly suggested this, and also then in talking with Mr. Ritt-Taylor, Mr. Roth, they concurred, and so I would ask for approval of ordinance 22-17.
Do we have a second?
I'll give a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Just curious, are there any individuals out there that are potential right now?
There's kind of a strange anomaly of the restriction as it currently is that a certain amount, you have to live within the fire protection district that we protect. And there's actually a couple of individuals that we have that are willing to get on the department, or actually are on the department, and don't live within that area. So yes, we do know that there are a few people who will be interested in that. As far as the people who may just work in town but don't live even in the area, we're not sure yet. There have been times where people like that have applied and been turned down, but I wouldn't expect there to be boatloads of them.
2 or 3 would help.
2 or 3 would help, yeah. And we've been lucky. We've seen our numbers stay good. It's just that daytime participation that has been difficult.
Chief, I know when I was a member of the auxiliary, and one of the things that the command staff there did was to try to get a organization built with individuals that worked the variety of shifts so that you had somebody off during all those.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that we do?
Well, yes. I mean, we really rarely turn anyone away. So we take most of the applicants that we get for that. It seems that the type of person, for the most part, that we get are the type of people that work during the day, not typically third shifters for some reason. So I think that's just a harder group to attract, is people that are available during the day, basically.
I can commend the efforts to try to do something to get more individuals, but it still comes down to one thing: the generosity of the employer to give the employee the time off to go respond. And I think that history tells us several years ago we were the benefactors of just such a employers
Yes.
to give the employees
Sure.
that time up, because we had a lot of guys that would respond during the workday that work day shift. And
And the fact is, we just get busier and busier, you know, so where an employer used to maybe once a month be okay with their employee leaving, now it becomes once every other day, and it becomes harder for them to absorb that.
And I understand, this hits me pretty close to home. Being my brother's house burnt down in November, and we had 3 members of the department showed up and depended on East Peoria to respond and help. So I see the need firsthand, not to mention, you know, familiarity with the department as well. But,
and unfortunately, that number of 3 to 4 has become the norm for a daytime response. And sometimes it's 1, you know, so I mean, we're trying everything that we can think of to keep that going.
well, and I think that's the bad part of a volunteer organization, where if we had a full-time department, I don't know that we're able to do that yet, but you know, you would have people here
right
at all shifts. So
Well, Morton has grown, you know, and just a lot going on. But I think if we ever have to go to full department, we'd have to ask for a sales tax increase of probably 1/4% by referendum to pay for that. And it's gonna be a lot of money. So if we can get so we're trying to get the resources there on the day, if we can pull it off for a while. So, any other comments? Okay, call the roll.
Newman.
Yes.
Parrot.
Yes.
Hilliard.
yes.
Leach.
Yes.
Mennel. Yes. Motion carries.
That's all for me, Your Honor.
Trustee Parrott?
So I'd like to make a motion for acceptance of a proposal through Sourcewell and from Key Equipment and Supply for a new Green Climber LV600 remote control mower in the amount of $102,724.90.
Second.
Okay. This is, well, like I said, a remote control mower. You guys have all seen, but what it's for is the mowing of our ditches. Several years ago, we purchased a boom mower to mow some of those, but there are still a lot of areas that we can't access with a boom mower or with traditional mowing equipment, and it becomes quite dangerous for the staff to be on the tractor at such steep angles and to go up and down the slopes, tears everything up really bad, ruts it up. Whereas this machine it's much smaller, roughly the size of a mini skid steer. It's on tracks, has a front mount mower, and one of the staff would actually walk along with it, but it can mow down 60-degree hills and back up and get where our mowers can't get, and without having somebody in the staff having to sit at an angle and be scared of tipping over.
Did we have one we used last year?
Excuse me, sorry.
Did we have one that we used?
We had,
RC
it
mower.
was an RC mower, but it was more of a finish mower. And it was getting stuck on us a lot because the mowing depth was between the tracks. And it was a really low clearance, so we'd hit the ruts from years prior. And half the time we were trying to pull it out. And it was a finish mower, so we'd have to go like 30 feet up, 30 feet, go over like 3 times, whereas this one's gonna have hammer flails. And it can take saplings up to probably 1.5 inches. And just this regular grass, it'll go right through it. Plus the tracks they expand, it contracts, so if you get stuck, you can move them. The head pushes down so you can get stuff underneath, like debris, you won't get stuck like you would with the other one.
So we still have that other one, or?
No, we just leased that for a little bit just to check it out, yeah.
We leased it to try it out. And Kip coming to the village has helped kind of push the safety, and you know, I've kind of leaned on him because he's actually spent time out there mowing and everything. I'm like, what do you think? And I've actually, I think it was a year or so ago, had to walk up on Seth Webb rolled the tractor in the creek. So it's just, it's time. I think the technology's there. Most of us have seen this in action. We feel this is the right one. But we really appreciate the opportunity to purchase this mainly for safety for the employees. And that's what Kip's mentioned to me. If I'm not going to do it, it's a problem. So he tries to do everything. It's hard to tell your guys to do it, which has happened for quite some time. It's hard to tell your guys to do it when you won't do it yourself. So I think everyone in the street department would support this purchase here for that reason.
And what's the range? How far away can you get?
It can go up to 1,500 feet, something like that. But when we're doing the creeks, there's so many culverts, we try to stay pretty close, just so we can see. So it's easy to stay on the other side of the creek and be able to see.
Yeah.
Go.
It's hard to put a dollar figure on safety for our people, so.
Yeah, and like when Seth did roll it, I think it was a $30,000 fix for the tractor. This way, we're not going to be renting a tractor from Cross Equipment. It would cost like $8,000 to $9,000 a year. Like I say, I've done it the last 2 years because I don't expect the other guys to get it. And when you're on that hillside, you'll slide down 3-4 feet at a time. The top tires come off a little, and it's just pretty scary. And it's worse every time you go in the creek. It gets worse than before. It's never going to get better. So this is going to really, just for peace of mind, and my guys. So.
Ken?
I see that it says it will take trees up to 6 inches.
Yeah, that's the
Is there
different.
something on the front of it to?
Okay, so the attachment, the forestry mulcher will take up to 6 inches.
Okay.
The hammer flare, what we're gonna get will probably 1.5 inches. So the one we demoed took the big ones, but that's more for if you're gonna go make trails through the woods. The one we're gonna get the attachment is more for like the creeks, what we're doing. It'll make a better cut for that.
So that's the primary intent of this piece of equipment is the mowing that's done along the creek drainage channels.
Creeks, detention basins, like the fire station has a detention basin, it would be perfect for going there, keeping it, cut low so it dries out well.
What do we use for clearing easement, like for the sewer lines going down through some of the timber and whatnot?
Usually we try to keep up with it, and it's mower work usually. But I mean, it's probably limited. Otherwise, you're going down by hand doing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, big trees we go and cut by hand, we try to keep it down. We have our New Holland tractor with the Schulte mower on the back. We'll do that. We'll use the boom mower down there quite a bit. So we try to keep on it so we don't have to.
And wastewater guys do a good job patrolling that to make sure these guys know, when to get in there. Now this piece does have the opportunity for other attachments down the road too. If it turns, there's a bucket on the front. I know Kip mentioned you could get under bridges and pick stuff up. There, stump grinder. There are other things that you could add to this in the future too.
Pricey lawnmower.
What's that?
A pricey lawnmower.
It's very pricey.
We need it. That's one of the biggest complaints I get is mowing the creeks. People, our citizens, want the creeks mowed. So, no other comments? Let's call the roll.
Parrot. Yes. Hilliard.
Yes.
Leach.
Yes.
Mennel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Any other trustees have anything? If not, we do need a closed session.
Closed session is requested tonight for the purpose of discussing collective negotiating matters between the village and its employees or their representatives per 5 ILCS 120/2C2.
So we'll get a motion to go into closed.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll.
Hilliard.
Yes.
Leach.
Yes.
Mennel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Parrot.
Yes.
Motion carries.